Okay, so I am just disclosing that I am recording today and I've had people's permission to record. Okay, so let's start with hosting. It's really interesting, I think, Julian, that you've been able to say that you're actually going to be having one-on-one. So there is going to be no co-host for you. And in the majority of like workplace settings, there obviously is a host and a co-host. And the role of the co-host is to play a supporting role. So the host is able to be front and center, and the co-host is then kind of behind the scenes, letting people in, making sure everybody's muted, launching the poll, etc. So what we'll do is we'll cover off, I guess, more the team co-host scenario, but most of the functionality of a co-host and a host are the same. So anything you learn around being a co-host will be very similar to hosting. There are a couple of things that you can't do as a co-host, but they won't impact your learning today. So for the initial purposes, I'm going to make all of you co-hosts. For those of you that have never been a co-host, welcome. This is a big step. Okay, so just co-host. Okay, right. So I don't know if you'll notice, but what you can now see on your screen, you have a few different options. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll now see not only chat and share screen, but you'll also have the access to polls, I believe. You'll be having access to record, and you can also see that the breakout rooms button has appeared as well. And so there are a series of white grayish icons across the bottom of your screen. The other thing that you really need to get used to is if you click on your participants icon at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a number there currently as well, so it will say 4. And when you click on that, you'll have then your panel on the right side of your screen, and I know this is different for mobile, but you'll have the panel on the right side of your screen appear, and you can see the 4 participants, yeah? And feel free to unmute yourselves, because it'll be, yeah, I'm constantly going to be asking you questions, and giving me a quick yep is really easy and simple. So don't feel like you need to mute yourselves. So you can see your panel on the right hand side, the white panel with the participants' names there. Yes. So currently we've got Laura, I'm going to make you a participant temporarily. So we'll try that. So let's withdraw your co-host permission. So on your white panel with your participants, use your mouse to hover over their name, and you'll see 2 blue buttons. You'll see ask to unmute, and then you'll see more. Now if you click on the more, you'll then see that you can ask somebody to start their video, you can chat directly with them, you can make them host or co-host, for example. So if you've got 50 people in a meeting room, not a webinar, but a meeting, and they're chatting away, you can spotlight them, and that will make them the biggest person on the screen. Because I think if you're looking at gallery view, what happens is the person who's speaking, the yellow box moves to the person that's speaking. So yeah, it brings up all the people, usually across the top of the screen or down the side, depending on which layout they've got, and puts them really big for everybody. So I would like you as a co-host, Angela, to ask Laura to unmute. And Laura, if you could accept her request. Well, then we've got problems. So I'd like you to mute her again. Now this time I want you to draw your attention to the bottom of the screen. of the participant section again, and you'll see 3 buttons that are like a grey tone. One says invite, one says mute all, and the other says more. So these settings here allow you to control the overall, as a co-host or a host, the overall settings of the room. So if you don't want anybody to be able to unmute themselves, if you've got a rowdy bunch or the you know, it's a big meeting, you actually don't want people to unmute themselves, because often people just will unmute themselves and start talking, especially if you don't know people. Or so you want to like encourage people to put their hand up, and then you will ask them to unmute. So what we're going to do is change those settings. So currently it says allow participants to unmute themselves, rename themselves, and start video. So I want you to switch off Laura's ability, because she's the only participant, everyone else is a co-host. Switch off her ability to unmute herself, so just unclick that. And I also want you to unclick the start video. So you want to click them again, they're still clicked. So you want to have no tick there. Yes, you're going to go look at the bottom of the screen and click at the more button right at the bottom, which says ask all to unmute, etc. Yeah. So you're going to go to allow participants to. Yeah, so click that one, and I want you to also click the one that says start video. So what that means is any participant, so Laura, I'm just going to mute you for a second. So Laura won't be able to start her video or her audio. You actually have to invite her, and you do that by hovering over her name. And you can ask her to unmute, or, yeah. So if you can accept. She's obviously declined. Laura's saying, no, I do not want to speak. So you've turned off her ability to have a video. I'm not sure that there's ever really a requirement to not allow people to have their videos in a meeting scenario. So I want you to turn on her ability to start video, which is back down to that more button at the bottom of that panel, and start video. So you're allowing her to start her video. So, yeah, go, sorry. No, you have, as a host, you have full control. You have the control to let people mute themselves, everyone has the ability to mute themselves, but you have the ability to control whether people can unmute themselves or use their video, or, yeah, how people are engaging in the meeting, basically, is at your discretion. And you can imagine, again, the size of the meeting is really dependent on how you customize the settings. If you've got a meeting like this, I don't need to have all of you on mute, but I think what we've actually created is a Zoom meeting etiquette sheet. Have you been emailed that by Marina? So we've got a bit of a, oh, we've lost Laura. So yeah, there's a checklist that we can send through to you that's a bit of a pre, during and post meeting checklist that is kind of really helpful. So we'll send that through. The other thing that I will go through with you, I'll just teach you how to change your background. So You will usually be able to do this whether you're co-host or host. The only variance is sometimes your computer type or your Zoom software, if it hasn't been updated in a while, won't let you do it. So make sure you have the most up-to-date version of Zoom. So you're going to find the two buttons at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. One says mute, one says stop video. You're going to click on the upward facing arrow in the stop video section. Oh, Julian's a professional already. And it's so we'll just reset. So bottom left hand two buttons on your screen. One says mute and one says stop video. Bottom left hand side of your Zoom screen. Upward facing arrow from there. And it says select a camera, choose a virtual background, choose a video filter, and video settings. So you want to go to choose a virtual background, and there will be some selections there for you. You can, there you go. So you've got, you're in some video filters at the moment. So what you're able to do is there's a plus symbol just underneath the image, and you can add images there. So if you wanted to celebrate a certain day or have something in the background. But as a general rule, I find that the backgrounds, unless you are celebrating a specific day, I find them really distracting. See, now what's happening with yours is have you got the green screen effect selected? I have a green screen. Yeah, so can you click off of there? Because you don't have a green screen. But if you then were to pick one of a background, so you can click the plus sign and add an image or add video. Screen. Yeah. Yeah. You're on a PC, aren't you? You're on a Mac. That's even bizarrer. So yeah, if you definitely update your Zoom software, you can just do that by going into the App Store and just downloading it directly from there, or running an update from your App Store on your Mac. Yeah. Yeah, so on the video that I'll send you of today, you'll see the options that should come up, and then, so I'm just going to click this. So yeah, definitely run an update. Yeah, awesome. No, you're welcome. So the other thing, again, something else we like to teach is, again, if you're in a big meeting, and it's certainly a rarity, but if you're in a meeting and somebody's not being nice, not saying nice things, maybe being a bit disruptive, yeah, not being a team player is a nice way to put it, you can always put people into the waiting room as a co-host. So Julian, we're going to test you first, and then we'll bring you back, and then you can have a test, okay? So we'll just make Julian, we'll withdraw his co-host permission. So first of all, you'd want to mute him. So based on the settings that we've got there, now he can't unmute himself. So if he was getting really aggro and just having a bit of a rant and rave, you could just mute him just to take out that piece of the equation. And then you can actually remove him into the waiting room. So as opposed to kicking him out of the meeting, because if you do remove somebody from a meeting, you can't have them back. It doesn't even if they click on the link, it kicks them out. Yeah. So you're going to hover over his name on the participant, and you're going to put him in the waiting room. So as he's now been removed, we'll still see him here as a participant, but you can actually then chat with him directly. So if you click on your chat icon, which will bring up that secondary panel on the right hand side, you can then go down to the chat window where you can type, and you'll see a blue button that allows you to select who you're going to talk to. So yes, yeah, so you can, let's type Julian a message. We are still here. Be back soon. So you can imagine if you've got everyone in the waiting room before a meeting and your keynote speaker or some VIP or somebody important is running late, you don't usually want to start the meeting, so you can message everybody there and say, stay with us, we'll be starting in a couple of minutes, just to like, yeah. So now I want you to admit him. Welcome back, Julian. Now he can't unmute himself, so you're going to have to ask him to unmute. And you can already see, like, the more you practice it, you've only been practicing it for 10 minutes, you're already going, oh, ask to unmute it. So take the time to I believe, set up a meeting with a colleague and let them be the participant, you be the host, and just practice like muting them, unmuting them, changing the settings. Yeah, like practice before the big day, because I think that's the mistake many of us make, is that we wait for knowing how to do Zoom like with that big meeting. All right, so we're going to switch around roles. I'm going to make you co-host, Julian. No. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. So it's often utilized so that if you are running a meeting, let's say you have your counseling session ready, and I don't know if you've got kids or you live with elderly parents or whatever, there's builders going on in the background, who knows what could happen. Suddenly there's been a water leak and you've got a patient waiting in the waiting room, because you should always have a waiting room. That's, I guess, one of the other tips. You never know when you're going to need, just as you don't have people just walk into your consultation room as your waiting room is a go. So if you were running late for whatever reason, you could message them and say, apologies, I'll be with you in 5 minutes. So often what happens in the bigger meetings is you lose people if they're going, oh, what's going on? The host have I got the right link? Just kind of breaks that flow, right? Exactly. You don't need to create like 50. You could create a Zoom meeting for the entire day and give everybody the same link, and just people leave. And it's something that the schools teachers really need to learn, because they each send out crazy amount of links. Anyway, so I'm going to make Angela a participant. So Julian, on your phone, can you put Angela in the waiting room? We'll bring you back, we promise. Good. So now what you can do is you can use your chat function and you can select who exactly you talk to. So you can talk to everyone in the waiting room, everyone in the meeting, or me. Yeah. So you can, Angela, yeah. And so you can also see my message, yes, to her. So she's obviously now experiencing what you are. I can't say anything, but at least I feel seen. They know I'm here, kind of thing. And so again, if you remove someone, which we're not going to do, but if you remove someone, there's no getting back in for that particular booking. Yeah. Because what you can, you know, if you ever are in that situation, my advice would be to put them on mute, say what you need to say. You know, I don't feel safe at the moment. You know, I think you're probably better at wording that than I am, given your role. And then removing them. Do you want to bring Angela back in? Would you like to admit her? Oh, see, I love hearing that. When you guys say this is easy, I'm like, yes, it is. It's great. We're a migrant resource centre based in Liverpool, supporting migrants and refugees, specifically supporting people from refugee backgrounds in the first 5 years of settlement. But we have so many other programs, multicultural playgroups, aged care services, youth. Yeah, we do a lot. But I'm marketing manager, so I've been covering all sorts of things during lockdown, which also includes Zoom training, because I've held meetings with the Premier, and we've been doing lots in the Zoom space, and I thought, well, why not share the love of Zoom? Okay, so you talked about breakout rooms. So there's two ways that you can actually organise a breakout room, and so I could imagine that both of you in your roles would use breakout rooms perhaps in a different way. What we'll do today is we'll look at doing it one way, which is if you haven't organised it before your event and you want to do a breakout room on the fly, then that's how we'll learn about it today. Because usually most of us are like, I haven't done a poll or I haven't done an evaluation, and then you do it in real time. So Julian, Angela, I'm going to make you co-host. Just so you can see. Okay. So just checking that you both have access to both the polls and the breakout rooms. But not the poll. Okay, good. No, what that is it's telling me that because I haven't set up anything, I need to set it up as a host before the co-hosts could support me to launch the poll. So this is where the screen recording will come in handy, so you'll be able to see as a host those. Remember I talked about those little differences at the beginning. So breakout rooms are essentially that. They're like a breakout where you can put a couple of participants and ideally a facilitator or a host or a co-host to have maybe a bit of a brainstorming session or a breakout facilitated session that perhaps focuses on a different area of something, just like you would in a meeting or a team strategy session, for example, where you'd separate into groups, have your Q&A, brainstorm, and then bring everyone back. So if you click on breakout rooms, tell me what you see. Great. So what we're going to do today is, Angela, you're going to run this first, and then Julian will get you to do it second. So I want you, because there's only 3 of us, it's very difficult. So you will assign Julian and myself into a room. So you only need one breakout room. So you have the breakout room and then this main meeting room. Okay. Yes. Yep. 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 At Western City MRC. So what will happen is, as soon as you click our little tick boxes, you'll then click open all rooms, and what that'll do is that it will do one of two things depending on what the settings are. It will ask us to join a room, or it will just push us to the room directly. So and assign me to that room as well. It won't. So it won't let you assign me. That's cool. It won't let you assign the host. So put Julian in room 1. So you're going to open the room, and Julian. Yep. And so now when you click on that breakout rooms, you'll see there are breakout rooms in progress. I'm unassigned because I'm a host, and you're unassigned as well. But you can join a room by hovering over the room, and you'll see it has a number. It says 1. And if you hover over that 1, it will change to join. So I'll see you in the room.
I made it.
So sorry, so go. Yeah, any questions so far?
No, that's good.
Okay.
So what you can... Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I just missed how you actually did that.
We'll do that with you again. So we'll switch roles. Yeah, so now we're all in this room, and as a host or as a co-host, you can, when you're back in the main room, control when you bring people back. So Angela will go and do that, and we'll bring Julian back. So Julian, if you can stay there for us. So I want you to leave the room, Angela. Bottom right-hand corner, there's a blue leave room.
Yeah.
We'll see you in a second, Julian.
Okay, I made it back.
Okay, so if you bring up the breakout rooms button again, you'll see that there's 2 options. You can broadcast a message to all, or you can close all the rooms. So I want
to close it.
No, I want you to click broadcast.
Okay.
So you could say, hey, finishing up in 2 minutes, wrap your meeting, your notes up, whatever that might be. So maybe just let Julian know that we'll be wrapping up in 10 seconds. Great. So I've clicked close all rooms, and then that will automatically close the room in 1 minute.
Yeah, less than a minute.
Yeah, and it does it all. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
So he can still leave the room if he wanted to.
Okay.
And then that allows you to kind of get yourself ready, and that's taken care of for a minute.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's really interesting. It doesn't even give me the ability to go in there again. That's yeah. So I've been holding workshops in my other job with community leaders and doing like 4 or 5 community leader brainstorming sessions in breakout rooms, and it's been like really, really great, really successful. It's so easy and convenient.
Yeah. I just am happy when I get on Zoom and get off, but I don't really sit there and explore more possibilities.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? We have these amazing tools at our fingertips.
Yeah.
So Julian, are you back with us? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to switch roles. So I'm actually going to make. So Julian, you're going to click breakout rooms.
Where do I find that?
So that
Breakout.
yeah, there's like four squares, 4 cubes.
Mute, stop video, share content, participant, or more.
See, now this is where maybe mobile says it's a no-go for breakout rooms on a mobile device.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. I'll go to contacts.
So not contacts, you want to go to your main menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sad face, but we'll access the recording and yeah, you'll be able to do that. But Angela's testimony, is it easy?
Yeah.
So I guess one of the last ones is polls. Do you ever use evaluation for any of your sessions?
Yeah, we have in the past, and I've participated in Zoom calls where I had to participate, but I've never conducted myself.
Okay. And Julian, do you think that's something that you might use during a consultant, like a session?
Yeah.
Measuring.
I'm thinking about doing a stroke recovery sort of a program for stroke survivors around the world as well. So that could maybe, like questionnaire type poll thing.
Yeah. The great thing about polls is that you could create or consider creating not just an evaluation at the end of a session, but a pre and post, because that's when you can see the behavioural shift, learning, education. I think obviously organisations and services function in different ways, but evaluation pre and post is critical to additional funding or self-evaluation. So yeah, I'm a big advocate of pre and post. Probably should have done one at these sessions, like rate your Zoom and then rate it at the end so we could see that shift in learning.
How do you capture that data then? Where does it go?
It just sits in Zoom, so you can download it in real time after you've launched a poll and everyone's filled that in. So I'm going to create a poll, but you'll be able to launch them and then see what that looks like. So as I said, I'll share the video with you. So you can create a poll when you actually set up your meeting in the back end of Zoom using zoom.us, and then you log in. When you set up your actual meeting, you can go into the poll settings and set them up from there. But you have to create the meeting first.
Yeah.
So when you select your date and your time and whether there's a waiting room and the meeting room ID and a passcode and all those things in there, you then click create, and then the poll options appear at the bottom there. And it's just like, I don't know if you've used like SurveyMonkey. The poll is pretty simple. There are only 2 types of poll that you can create in this functionality. And that's either a multiple checkbox or a single checkbox answer. So there's no open text fields or anything like that. Okay. So I'm going to create, so when you click on the polls button and you haven't created anything, a box will appear and it gives you a blue button to say create polls, and you're like, yes, I'd like to create a poll. Now it's going to launch, as you will see, into our back end, and the screen will come up here. And as I say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's do my entire desktop live from the edge. Okay. So what's appeared firstly is this, that I haven't created any polls. And so it's telling me to create. So I've hit the blue button for create. And now we're in the back end. So I'm going to go create poll. So what's my question? What should we ask today? What should I have created a poll for today?
Did we cover content?
All right. Okay.
I don't know.
Lucky I'm a
Did
quick
the
type.
instructor live up to our own expectations?
I feel like I'm setting myself up here, or you're setting me up, one of the two. All right, so we've got 3 questions. How confident are you in Zoom? I'm going to say amazing, not so great, need help. All right, did we cover the learning content you expected? Let's just give it a very definitive yes or no. We're going to make that a single choice. Absolutely. Can't spell. Oh, still can't spell. Yes. And of course, they're all the same. Oh, okay, I've completely lost the ability to type.
So the only way to do these polls is while the participants are there kind of waiting for you to do it?
No, you can do this beforehand. So as soon as you've set up this meeting that you can see behind.
Yeah. Before the participants.
Correct. But if you realise, like if you were running a session and maybe you were getting an individual to have some thinking time, or you can see how quickly it would be, or gets a co-host to do this whilst, like, oh no, we've forgotten to do the polls. They could do this whilst you're in the meeting and they'll still appear even though you didn't create them beforehand. So we've named our poll. What you can do, let's actually call this poll 1. We'll call this post survey. And so I'm going to save this. And you'll see it then appear. You'll see it appear here. You can then create a second one, and this one, let's call this pre-survey for argument's sake. Okay? So you'll then see those 2 there.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I want you to go back to your Zoom and click on polls again. Angela, sorry, you're not co-host. Let me just make you co-host.
So you want me to go into...
So back to our Zoom screen, and you're going to click on polls now.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And so tell me what you see.
Oh, I need to launch poll.
So you've got a drop-down menu at the top that allows you to select which poll you want to launch.
Okay.
So I'd like you to do the pre-survey one.
Yeah.
And click launch. Now the tricky thing here is that only non-hosting participants get to see this poll.
So can Julian see this?
No, he's currently a co-host, but he can see it.
I can see choice 1 or choice 2.
But you can't vote. You're only seeing the responses. So let's end the poll. I am going to withdraw host permission from Julian, and I want you to relaunch that same poll. And you'll be able to do that by clicking the 3 little dots that are next to, You've got it. And now you can see that there's 1 participant that needs to fill it in. It says 0 of 1.
Yeah.
But I don't know what choice 1 or choice 2 is. I think this is
Can
just
you... You just... Can you select 1? I'd always go with choice 1. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so you'll see his response there. You'll see that 100% of participants have answered the question. You can then end the poll, and you can do one of a few things. You can share the results. That means you'll share them with everybody in the meeting. So the thing that I love is that if you were going to do a pre-survey and say to everyone, all right, this is how capable you all think you're in Zoom, and we're averaging around 75% of participants said that they need improvement. Well, that's why we're all here today, for example. But you can imagine in a post survey, if you had 50 people in a meeting room and they 100% of participants said it was a great meeting, then you kind of want to share that. You're like, oh, thank you. So we're just going to switch that round. Julian, I'm going to get you to share the next poll. So I'm just going to switch your co-hosting capabilities.
Do you think it'll work on my phone?
We'll give it a go. So can you see polls on yours?
No, it's just mute, stop mute, share content buttons somewhat. But that's right. I'll watch this video and then I'll see the first option. Yeah. So, and Angela, perhaps then you would like to. I'm just going to switch your co-host around again. So perhaps you'd like to launch. Actually, yeah.
Okay.
So remember, you're going to, perfect. So again, you can now see there's 3 questions. You can see the time that's elapsing. You can see whether our one participant has completed anything. I will tell you though that on larger meetings, if you do have a big number, that there can be a bit of a lag sometimes. So just give it a little bit of time to catch up. You can imagine it's pulling in data from all over the place. So yeah.
Share results.
Yeah. Need help.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
When I'm on a group call, like a large room, and there's various people and their chat box is going, and it's being recorded, can the host read everybody's chat?
Yes.
They can.
Yeah, and there's a setting in the back end of Zoom which allows you to automatically save the chat.
Oh, wow. So if people think that they're just discreetly typing to each other in the room, the host still can have permission to read it? No.
So you can't access chats that are going on directly between 2 people.
Oh, you can't?
No. You'll only get the chat that is accessed in that open chat setting.
Oh,
so
okay.
Zoom, the integrity remains behind a person-to-person chat.
Okay.
Yeah. But the thing that you don't know, usually, if you click on the chat button now, and then our chat comes up here, if you click on the 3 little buttons, 3 little icon semi-burger menu that's at the bottom, you should be able to save the chat.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So what that does is and I always just tend to do it because I have lost the chat before on a big meeting, which I just never forgave myself for. But you can save the chat and it saves you to your Zoom folder, especially on a Mac. If you just search Zoom, it will be saved in the date and time of your meeting, and it automatically creates a new folder every time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's handy because sometimes when I ask people for websites and information on the chat, I'm always writing it down on a piece of paper because I didn't know that you could save it.
Yeah, it's super easy. But know that often anyone can usually save the chat, and that's a function that you can turn off or on in the back end of Zoom as well.
Yeah, right.
But you can also then control how people chat in a meeting. So you can turn off the one-on-one stuff if you don't want people talking to each other. So yeah, on that same drop-down menu that says Save Chat, there is participants can chat with
no one, host only.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I'm going to wrap up for today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I learned a lot.